I think the odds dropped. I think DeBoer was minus 200, and then it was at minus 115.
Minus 115, you know who's second?
Norvell, right?
No.
Who?
So it sounds like Dan Lanning has passed, right? He put out that video. Steve Sarkisian probably been called and passed, I believe.
Yeah, he tweeted out, it's great to be a Texas.
Did he tweet that out? He had to be the first call, right? Like that was Nick Saban's succession plan for him after he retired. But once you get the Texas offer, he told him, okay, go ahead and take that. So both those guys have passed. Now what?
Well, Kalen DeBoer, the Washington coach, looks like he's the guy in the lead right now. I'll use air quotes on that. Tommy Rees will get an interview. I would be shocked.
There's no way.
I think that is hey, we want to help out Tommy Rees. It's a good look. I think Mike Locksley doesn't really have a shot. I think that is a way to say, hey, we're going to interview a non-white person. I think because that's part of it. Like that's part of the deal.
Yeah, he was the OC.
He was the OC. And look, I coached his son, Kai, at Iowa Western. Unbelievable family. Mike Locksley's a hell of a coach. I think he'd do well at Alabama, but I don't think he's a legitimate candidate, not just for that reason, but just kind of what the market bears right now. And then you look at go down the road, Mike Norvell. Like I'm telling you right now, if Kalen DeBoer doesn't take it, if I'm Mike Norvell, and I want to play this clip from our buddy Josh Pate, we kind of disagree on a point here, but if you're Mike Norvell and you just got left out of the college football playoff after going undefeated, and now the NCAA is levying out penalties on you for NIL when literally everybody's doing it. Like how, and you're in this battle to leave the ACC. How much is enough? Like for Mike Norvell, you'll never have this problem in Alabama. Hell, you get close to it. They're begging to put Alabama in there, right? So I think right now it's either going to be DeBoer or it's going to be Mike Norvell. And I think both those would be really good hires. It's just the DeBoer fit
seems weird.
It's just
he's probably the best coach on the board, though, right? Just from a coaching standpoint, is he obsessed with recruiting like you need to be? Is he obsessed with recruiting the way that Saban was, or even
is he the best coach on the board, though?
Just from a coaching standpoint, I mean, look, he's out-coached Dan Lanning. He's 3-0 against Dan Lanning, who is a fantastic recruiter and has the resources out at Oregon with Phil Knight and Knight.
Well, I mean, you look at I think what Mike Norvell's done too.
I think it's better.
Well, look, we're splitting hairs at this point.
That's exactly
Another thing with Kalen DeBoer, would he rather be in the NFL? If he got an offer from the Falcons or from the Redskins, and he got an offer from Alabama, what would he take?
I don't know DeBoer that well. His rise has been incredible. I mean, the dude's a fantastic footballer.
It's 104-12.
But you got to look where you're at too. And this is what I want to get to. I want to play this clip from Josh Pate, who again we agree on stuff, we disagree on stuff. I disagree with him here. I'm going to play the clip and then we'll talk about it. Let's go and run it.
If I've heard one person say this, I've heard 1,000 of them say, who wants to follow a legend? Who wants to try and step in after Nick Saban departs? The answer is a lot of folks. How many of them are going to get the opportunity? 1, 2, 3, I don't know. Not very many. That is not the way to phrase the question. Okay, it is a very, very poor miscalculation of how supreme alpha competitors think. Alpha competitors are the 1%ers. Okay, by the very definition of what it takes to have this job, if you have common mentality, if you think in average terms, you're not going to get an offer to be the head coach at Alabama anyway. So the guys who think the right way, they are few and far between. But those are the only ones that are going to even have the opportunity to begin with. The guys who think in a manner that it takes to be the head coach at Alabama are the kind of guys who do not look at who they're replacing. They look at support, they look at facilities, they look at resources, they look at recruiting base, and they look at commitment. And Bama goes 5 for 5 on those, which makes it a premier college football job, which any competitor worth his salt is going to look at and say, I don't care who in the world I'm coming in behind. I'm going to win there. Because I'm a winner and I got the ingredients to win. And that's the mic drop. That's all it takes. That's the beginning, middle, and ending of how competitors assess this.
No, it's not. If you've ever had an agent and been involved in a college football search, so basically what Josh is saying there is that if you think in the mentality of, oh, it's not about who I'm replacing, it's about what I can do. Like if you don't think that way, then you're average. He also said that Alabama hits 5 out of 5 of the resources and stuff and the ability to win there, which I agree with. So Dan Lanning turned him down yesterday. I don't think Dan Lanning's average. I don't think he's an average mentality guy. Steve Sarkisian turned him down. I don't think he's an average mentality guy. Coach Steve Spurrier, who I don't think's got an average mentality. Yesterday on Paul Feinbaum, I would hate to recommend a guy to go take it because you can't do as well as the coach before you.
Yeah.
I don't think Steve Spurrier has an average mind. You can't look at things in a bullish way like that. That's not, you can say that. Like, that's easy to say behind a microphone when it's not you that is being involved in the search, right? It's easy to sit here and say, well, just don't be afraid to replace Nick Saban, or it doesn't matter who you replace. It's circumstantial. It's where you're at. If you make decisions just based on that, you're going to screw yourself over multiple times. If I'm Steve Sarkisian, it's not that I have a common or average mentality. It's that my ass is at Texas, and I'm not leaving to go replace the greatest college football coach of all time in Alabama when I'm at Texas. If I'm Dan Lanning, my ass is at Oregon. I'm not leaving Oregon to go. I want to pave my own way. I don't want to live in a shadow, right? I don't want to be, it's not that I'm afraid. I'm just not dumb. Like, I'm going to go co-dad Alabama with Nick Saban. Like, that's, or I'm average, or I'm a common thinker.
Yeah.
What are we talking? There's some nuance, and you can't approach this like that. Dan Lanning's got a family. Like, oh, well, Alabama does have the resources. Oh, they have the players. They have the recruiting base. They have this. They have that. Well, I should just definitely go and not be worried about Saban. It's about where I'm at right now. Now, if I'm Tommy Rees, hell yeah, I'm going to take it.
Yeah. I mean, none of these guys are scared. If they offered Dan Lanning $1 billion and that was like the single motivating factor, he'd be the head coach.
Yeah, but it's not a mic drop. You can't just say, yeah, you can't. So Steve Spurrier is a average. He's not competitive. Dog, Steve Spurrier didn't change his signals for 30 years and said, hey, come out and stop it. Like, I'll give you some examples. And listen, there's been some times where replacements have worked out. But it's not because people are soft that don't want to do it. It's because they actually thought about it, right? This is why you have an agent, too. Some guys will use it as leverage just to get more money with where they're at. Like, so, for example, Bear Bryant, who followed him, Ray Perkins, went 48-32, fired. All right? Who replaced Bo Schembechler? Gary Moeller?
He got in trouble.
60-44. Who replaced Steve Spurrier? Ron Zook? Man, how did that work out for you? I can go down the list. Now, there's some Ryan Day taking over for Urban Meyer, which that was a little different situation with what happened with Urban. But I think and again, love Josh. Josh, I agree with Josh more times than I don't. But right here, I feel like this was a red meat. Like, hey, everybody come here, look, oh, you better be a badass and not think things through. No, it doesn't make you an average thinker. It makes you smart to think through these things.
Well, what Josh said at the beginning when he said, who would want to take this job? The answer is a lot of folks. He's technically right. That's why I said the line will be around the block, because I would take the job, you would take the job, everybody in this building would take the job. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about out of the top 5 names on the list, who wants to take it? Well, the top 2 have already passed, right? Essentially, is what, I mean, Steve Sarkisian's passed, Dan Lanning has passed. Sounds like Alabama fans don't even want Dabo Swinney to get an offer. So that alone, I mean, I think that we would have already seen the position be filled. And what's interesting is the Patriots job coming open at the exact same time as the Alabama job is very telling. I think we can do a little bit of data here, despite one being college and one being NFL. Because Bill Belichick had fallen off that cliff a little bit, someone is more willing to go take that job immediately. Whereas I think if Alabama had been, 3-9 the past 2 years, if they went 3-9 the past 2 years, do you think Urban Meyer or Dan Lanning or one of those guys is already the coach at Alabama?
I think there's a much better chance that one of those big names goes and takes over for Alabama if they were struggling. But again, I was just surprised when I heard this, because it's got to go. That Nick Saban being the coach before you has got to go into the calculus of your thinking. Like I was very surprised to hear that. I don't know.
Maybe Dragon.
Well, yeah, you have to think if you want to replace Nick Saban or not. How's that a real even argument? Obviously, because we're talking about the best, right? The best of the best when it comes to coaching. The Dan Lannings, all the Mike Norvells, all this. You're going to live in it. It's never going to be good enough if you go to Alabama. It's not. And if you do win, you know why you won, especially, hell, if you win it next year.
Oh, it's Nick Saban's guys.
Nick Saban's guy.
Yeah.
It's Nick Saban's players. Well, Nick Saban brought in the formula. So if I'm Sark, I'm Dan Lanning, hell, the thing about where they're at right now, they got the 5 out of 5.
That's exactly right.
They got the 5 out of 5.
That's the biggest
They
point.
got the 5 out of 5, and they don't have to worry about a shadow behind
And Dabo, too. Like, well, I already built something special.
It's circumstantial. You can't look at it all together and just put everything in one category. Every job is circumstantial because everybody's at a different place.
And if we're talking about like mentality-wise, if that's what he's talking about, I can get that. Like, you can't be afraid to go coach. But when you're that high up, when a level of coaching, you have to weigh in every little thing. Every little thing when it comes to that. So no, I do not agree. Let's go to Jack Hogan with the $5 donation. Appreciate it, Jack. Love seeing another group of fans go through the same stages of coaching search that Auburn fans go through. The name Kalen DeBoer is deafening right now.
Yeah, it is. I mean, look at the odds, even though I think the odds dropped. I think DeBoer was minus 200, and then it was at minus 115.
Minus 115, you know who's second?
Norvell, right?
No.
Who?
Mr. Hill Runner. Dabo.
There's no way, dog.
Dabo Swing.
There's no way.
Please.
Where's Lane Kiffin? Oh, wait, now I remember.
Please.
Hey, YouTube, what's up? Thanks for stopping by. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Check us out. Roll through our videos. We drop content all the time. Turn that notification bell on as well so you can be updated when we do release it.